and you can walk down any street in Washington and you're going to be just fine. And I want to thank the National Guard. I want to thank Pete Hegseth. The job you've done here is incredible. And I hear you having the same kind of success in Memphis, Tennessee, where you had an even worse situation. And Memphis crime is down 64% in 3 weeks. And by the time you have 4 or 5 weeks, you're going to have it down almost where there won't be crime. And we could do that in Chicago, by the way, if they would let us. If the mayor was a low IQ person, but he should understand this. This is a very serious thing. You saw all the crime that took place last night, the night before. The woman with the burning, they burned the woman. To be talking about that now, they burned this beautiful woman riding in a train. A man was arrested 72 times. 72 times, think of that. And they'll let him out again. The liberal judges will let him out again. But we're ready to go. You know, we've been moving toward Chicago. We have a governor that thinks it's wonderful that only like 7 people were killed this week. But we are moving toward doing, and we're going to, if crime gets, it's horrible what's happening in Chicago.
We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that. And we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down.
This surge in Memphis has dramatically dropped crime. The numbers tell the story themselves. They are undeniable. The last 56 days that we have had this surge compared to the same 56-day time period a year ago shows murder is down 48% in just 56 days, sexual assault down 49%, robbery down 61%, overall serious crime down 45% here in Memphis. We are reversing the trend. Since President Trump ordered federal law enforcement officers to search Memphis, 121 children have been located and returned to safety. Those are 121 children who were reported missing and endangered. They have been recovered. More than 3,100 arrests have been made, including 327 known gang members, 501 firearms seized off the streets of Memphis. We have filed federal charges against approximately 150 people. Michael, is that right? As of today, 157 federal charges have been filed.
What's up, y'all? Gerald here, creator of Gospel Chops and your host for this YouTube channel, back with another video. Now, y'all, as the National Guard surges all across America, in places like Washington, D.C., where we saw that 2 National Guard members were shot just today, just a few hours ago, right before Thanksgiving. We are in prayer for those National Guard members and their families during this holiday season. You never expect to go to work and get gunned down randomly as you try to make a difference and surge crime-ridden areas to make them better. Well, y'all, you got Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago, who is still resisting the president's help as he tries to get the National Guard in that city to make a difference in the people who are overtaxed in that city. They're asking for it. They're demanding it. They're marching and parading at city council meetings. They're roasting Brandon Johnson publicly and on this internet. But he continues to come out and say crazy things like, we can't arrest our way out of crime. Oh, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Get every criminal off the street. Problem solved. Even the president of El Salvador just came out against Brandon Johnson's remarks. He responded and said, oh, yes, you can arrest your way out of crime. Look at us. We did it in El Salvador. Matter of fact, y'all sending y'all illegal aliens down here so we can lock them up. That's how good we are. Brandon Johnson still doesn't want to take note. And you know why? Because he has some support out there. This is how liberals think. This is how liberals act. This is how liberals feel. And I found a couple videos that I'm going to share with you here so you can see. This is one area where the blackity blacks and the whitey whites unite. In leftism, in liberal ideology. They come together, y'all. They have a nice little bonfire and sing kumbaya as their homes are being robbed, as their cars are being stolen, as they're being carjacked. In these urban cities, in these blue cities, in these sanctuary cities, and they act like they are unaffected. They act like they don't know anyone who's been affected by this. Like it don't even make a difference in their life. Like they are not seeing what is going on. But there's an old adage that says, none so blind as those who refuse to see.
You want to know what happens when rich, white, affluent men decide what a city needs to feel more safe? Ironically, they break the law. Yeah, Tennessee court just ruled that Governor Bill Lee acted outside of his scope of authority by letting President Trump send the National Guard to Memphis. Sounds like he should be arrested for committing a crime. If Bill Lee was a poor black man, his ass would be in jail by now. Trust me. The only reason he's not is because he's a rich, affluent white man in power. And that's just how America works. But in all seriousness, I worked in the court system. I still do. But as a public defender for 2 years, meaning I was in the courtroom every day handling cases for arrests that were just made the day or 2 days prior. So I got to see the reality of Memphis, which is that the police here are only policing poor people, black people, and people with mental health illnesses that don't have enough support to keep them essentially contained and inside. And see, what these dummies did not realize is you cannot send hundreds and hundreds of police officers to a city without also sending defense attorneys, prosecutors, jail staff, judges, courtroom clerks, commissioners, because the system cannot support the influx. And as a result of Bill Lee and President Trump sending the National Guard to Tennessee, presumably innocent people are dying at a higher rate in our jail. Recently, 3 people died in our jail within 9 days. But don't worry, guys, they've got it.
So check me out. I had to wake up early this morning to go down to 201 in Poplar for a matter involving somebody else. That 201 in Poplar is the jail we have here in Memphis, if you didn't know. But yeah, so I get there and I'm noticing it's crowded as fuck. Crowded as shit, like overly crowded, and I can barely find a place to park. And I finally found a place to park, thank God. And I get out, walk to the building, and I shit you not, line to get inside the building, going down the fucking street. And 97% of that line was black people. And I thought to myself, this is some sad ass shit right here. Because I know for a fact black people are not the only people in Memphis that's committing crimes. And the first thing I thought about is my run-in with the Memphis Task Force. They treated me like absolute fucking garbage. They treated me like shit. They treated me like they just knew I was a criminal. Because I had got pulled over, I think for a taillight or some shit like that. Don't quote me on that. I forget what it was. Can't think of it right now. But yes, they treated me like absolute garbage because when their supervisor arrived, he was talking about the Memphis Task Force and what they were told to do. So I can guarantee you they were told to treat everybody they come in contact with like a fucking criminal. And that's what they're doing. They're profiling black and brown people because of stereotypes and shit like that. And it's causing a lot of black people to have to come to 201 in Poplar early in the fucking morning when they could be at work, they could be, spending time with their fucking families for absolute bullshit. Because another lady walked up to the line when I was already in it, and she was like, look at all these damn black people in this line. This is sad as shit. Ain't nothing but black people in this line. I was like, yeah, it's nothing but black people in this fucking line. And I know black people are not the only people that could potentially or are doing crime in Memphis. We are not. I'm 30 years old. I've never committed a crime. I'm 30 years old. And I've never been robbed. I've never been shot.
Now, y'all, Memphis is a great example of where the surge is working in this country. I know DC is a great example, but DC is not healed because you still got crazy folks running around with guns who are shooting National Guards members. So there's still some work to be done there. But understand, in Memphis, y'all, it's been a war zone in Memphis for years. And with the surge, they are seeing the positive effects of what's going on in that city. People are complaining on the left, but there are people on the right that are saying, thank y'all. One black preacher in Memphis is saying, thank you, Jesus, for allowing the president, Donald Trump, to send this surge here because we needed it. And we see the positive effects of it. Y'all, he was invited on a news report to tell his story, and he told it. A black preacher in Memphis telling y'all, this is what we wanted, this is what we needed, and thank God and Donald Trump for it.
We're very excited about this. What are you expecting to hear? What do you think Memphis needs to hear?
I think Memphis needs to hear what we have been hearing in bits and pieces all along, and what we know from our own observance is that the streets are safer. The crime is down, and the task force, I just texted you, I don't know if you got it yet, but I texted you a Facebook post from the Tennessee National Guard, which outlined how several National Guardsmen helped out and provided life preserving assistance for some victims of a bad car wreck on I-40. So there is really no downside, Alex, to the Guard being here or to the task force being here. And I think that probably critics are mostly just criticizing for the sake of criticizing.
So with that in mind, as you well know, lawsuits have been filed, especially with Mayor Lee Harris, the county mayor, as well as others who are still opposed to the National Guard being here. Do you see any validity in that suit, or do you think that's just a waste of time here?
Well, in terms of validity, anybody can always sue for any reason. My concern is that the taxpayers are paying for the lawsuits, Alex. every time you hear about a lawsuit like this, if the school board is suing the county commission, or the county commission is suing some other governmental entity, or somebody is suing the governor, the taxpayers, we are left holding the bag. And I would just hope that those who are filing these lawsuits would sort of slow down for a second. Let's not enrich lawyers. Let's enrich our atmosphere so that our children can be properly educated and we can provide as much safety as possible in the streets of Memphis. I'm very excited about that.
Task force is needed here one way or the other.
I think the citizens of Memphis want to hear that the task force, no matter who the task force is comprised of, is going to be here as long as possible. And I'm hoping to hear from AG Bondi that they don't plan to leave anytime soon, Alex. There is no downside to the steep drop in violent crime that we're experiencing in Memphis. There's no downside to a decrease in crime. And again, Alex, I don't think most Memphians are opposed to either the task force or the National Guard. I think a few people are opposed, and some in elected office who have other perhaps motives in being so publicly critical. But again, I don't think the majority of citizens of Memphis are opposed.
And one last thing very quickly here. So Dr. Whalum, you don't have a problem, obviously, with the task force being here maybe another month from now, maybe 6 months from now, maybe even a year from now?
I am hoping, again, as long as possible. If that's a year, that's great. Maybe we can even be talking about this in November around Thanksgiving of next year. But again, I'll repeat the caveat that I have stated on your show before. We must, and as I told you earlier, there is a positive sign in this direction. We must collaborate now to make sure that our situation, our education, and our economy is on an upward trajectory. If we don't do that, before the task force leaves, we're going to be in a worse position than before. But I repeat, there is hopeful news from Mayor Young and from leaders at the chamber that we are finally beginning to take steps in the direction of meaningful collaboration.
First at 5 on your news leader, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi returns to Memphis with state leaders to talk about the progress being made by the Memphis Safe Task Force. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Hurst.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Skurlock. The task force briefing wrapped up a short time ago at the Office of Preparedness out at Shelby Farms. WREG's Mike Suriani is there and has a recap of what was said. Mike?
Hey, good afternoon to you, Stephanie and Greg. Let me tell you that just a few minutes ago, before or as the event was breaking up inside, there was a large group of protesters outside here in front of the Office of Emergency Preparedness in East Memphis.
A complete clown show. What are they protesting? You're protesting crime being down? You're protesting less murders, less robberies, less theft, children being able to go to school safely, to be able to play in their neighborhood, right? That's what you're protesting? Again, this is a complete and total clown show, man.
Group actually approached the front door of the building, and at that time there was a large number of police vehicles showed up, flashing blue lights, sirens, and the crowd still very loud, expressing their protest, moved on and dispersed into the area here. Now, the motorcade has left with the Attorney General, who informed us that she and some of the other dignitaries are going to be heading over to serve Thanksgiving dinner to some of the members of the many agencies that are involved here. Attorney General Bondi expressing her commitment to this effort, her thanks to President Trump and to all of those involved. The director of HUD talking about a HUD hotline that is going to be made available to help persons in low-income housing develop a safer lifestyle. Senator Marsha Blackburn praising the over 30 different agencies involved in this effort, as she said, to make Memphis the safest city in the U.S. Senator Bill Haggerty calling this a unique opportunity to make a difference, changing the crime numbers in Memphis and pledging the proper resources to continue this going forward. Governor Bill Lee spoke about lifting the weight of the burden of crime off of Memphians and called this an historic moment. Now, we have a soundbite from Pam Bondi. Let's go ahead and play that and hear what she had to say.
Unfortunately, the safety of our community has been compromised by some judges who continue to obstruct our efforts. I wish they are all watching this, and I hope they're seeing what we're doing here in Memphis. We will not coddle violent criminals at the expense of law-abiding citizens.
And it was pointed out, excuse me, it was pointed out today that during this effort so far, there has been over 3,000 arrests, and that includes persons who are wanted for murder, for drugs, sexual predators, and in the process, 121 missing children have been recovered.
And there you have it, y'all. It's always amazing to me how some of these ideologies and perspectives can make folks come together. You got some blackity blacks and whitey whites on the left saying, hey, don't come to our city and make things better. We like it dirty. We like it crime-ridden. We like the murder rate up. But on the other side, you have people who are saying loudly, bring in all the reinforcements you need. Bring in all the police you need. Bring in the National Guard, the FBI, and all these other three-letter agencies because we want it to be safe. Not only for us, but for our neighbors, for our children. And I just believe that they deserve that. You deserve to live in a safe neighborhood. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking that the blackity blacks want to live next to the criminals. The blackity blacks want to live next to the drug dealers. No, that's not the case at all. Ask them. They're crying out. And we thankful for preachers like this who's raising his voice and amplifying the message so somebody in Washington, D.C. can hear that you're doing a good work. And there are people out here thankful for the work that you're doing. I hope the National Guardsmen hear it, that people are thankful for the work that you are doing all across this country. We need more of it, especially in blue states like mine. Y'all, let me know in the comments what you think about this and the surge. Are you on the left side of things? Were you taking to the internet and complaining about the surge and about your cousin them getting locked up because they part of the problem? Or are you on the side of the blackity black preacher who's taken to his pulpit and saying, thank you, Jesus, for a president who wants to make this country better, make our cities better, make our neighborhoods better? Let me know in the comments what you think about this. I'd love to know your thoughts. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video so we can get more people involved in the conversation, y'all. And like I always say, always remember and never forget, without the gospel, it's just chops. Until next time, peace.